Hello, and welcome to a Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness video, where today we will be continuing XDecember with Lunatone. Now, Lunatone's a Pokemon that I don't really have too much of a history with. It was pretty good in the Shadow Pokemon Only video that I did, and it was the first shiny Pokemon that I caught in Pokemon X, so I'm not even sure if I really used it. But with that, let's go ahead and move on to its stats. Lunatone has 70 HP, 55 attack, 65 defense, 95 special attack, 85 special defense, and 70 speed, and gets access to mostly psychic and normal type moves. However, it does get Ice Beam, Earthquake, and Shadow Ball, which could come in handy, but unfortunately because of its 55 base attack, it's not able to use those normal type moves or Earthquake or Shadow Ball all that effectively. But at least it has a pretty good special attack stat, so I can leverage its Psychic and Ice type moves pretty good. So with that, let's go ahead and get right into it. Our Lunatone in particular has a bold nature, raising its defense and lowering its attack. So those other moves that I mentioned before are going to be doing even less damage, but I will be surviving attacks a little better, so maybe it's a good trade-off. I have the Levitate ability, which makes me immune to ground type moves. And according to Bulbapedia, I get Tackle, Harden, and Confusion by level 10. So I think this shouldn't be too bad a start. And the first thing I do is level up to level 13 before I fight the old man, and that's because I want Rock Throw to actually take down the Abra in a single hit, otherwise I'm using Confusion, which probably wouldn't do the job. Out comes the Shroomish. Of course it uses Leer, which really doesn't mean anything to me because I'm not really afraid of their physical moves at all. It'd be only the grass type and water type moves that would cause any type of damage. Anyway, Shroomish is nearly taken down. One more Confusion should do it. And I beat the old man pretty easily. And with a decent Psychic type move, I decide to take down the Purple Power Ranger, who uses all poison types. And I guess to commence a bit of rambling, if you are enjoying this video so far, consider liking, and if you have any Pokemon suggestions, please throw them down below. I hope you all are enjoying XDecember as it's going on right now. I am trying very hard to try to get out these videos as quick as I can, and at the moment I'm aiming for another two, one for the end of this week or maybe beginning of next week, and one on Christmas Day. So be sure to tune in for those if you do enjoy these videos. And with that, we beat the purple trainer and we move on. And at level 19 I get Hypnosis, which I teach over Tackle just because it might be more useful. And at level 25 I learn Psywave, which is my best way to deal with anything that resists the Psychic type at the moment. And we move on to Loverina, who leads with a Beautifly and a Love Disc. I use Confusion into the Love Disc, which isn't a one-shot. Beautifly uses Thief, not really doing too much damage, but the combined efforts of both are starting to add up. I take down the Love Disc. Out comes Roselia, another Thief. I go for Confusion, which should one-shot Roselia because it is part poison. Out comes Delcatty, which is her Shadow Pokemon, and I doubt I can take it down in a single hit. I do over half to it though, so I know I can take it down if I can get into a position of surviving long enough, so on the next attempt, I go into the battle. I use Rock Throw to take down the Beautifly in a single hit. And then out comes Roselia once again. I know I'm able to take it down with a single Confusion, but because I didn't take so much damage on the first couple turns trying to take down the Love Disc, I can actually get to the Delcatty at above half health. I go for Confusion, takes it down below half again, and unfortunately get crit by a Shadow Rush. I'm able to take it down though. Water Gun takes me down to 2 HP, and I know I can't one-shot it unless I get a lucky crit. We take those, and that's Loverina on the second attempt. Well, we move on to the obligatory Mirror-B. How's it going, Mirror-B? Good to see you. Anyway, at level 31, I decide not to learn Cosmic Power, which might come back to haunt me, and at the top of the OMDS building, I catch a Ralts for the Twisted Spoon item to raise my Psychic damage. At the Realgam Tower, I pick up my two favorite TMs, Hidden Power and Protect, and I'm going to go ahead and teach Hidden Power right away, which happens to be Hidden Power Ground, which is good for the steel types that do super effective damage to me. It's unfortunate that it's a physical type. And at level 37, I get Psychic, which I teach over Confusion. We then go on to the battle against Snaddle. He leads with a Lantern and a Quagsire. I go for Psychic and one-shot the Quagsire. And out comes Lunatone, the only other Lunatone in the game. that I have to fight, and I go for Psychic against it because it's my best damaging move for it. It does over half, but it is going to be a 2-shot. Fruity Pebbles rain down. I go for a Psychic to finish it off, and then out comes Cast Form, which really isn't that big of a threat, so I decide to actually take down the Lunatone after the Fruity Pebbles fall down, and that's because I don't think it's really going to be doing that much damage. Out comes Matang. Water Pulse actually does a decent amount. Fruity Pebbles rain down, and I take down the Cast Form before getting Metal Clawed and taking down my Matang. Anyway, I decide to teach Ice Beam now because it'll be a better neutral move to use against his Lunatone. And so I go for it in the next attempt, and it's not a one-shot either. It is doing more damage though, which eventually leads us to the final battle, where this is now attempt number 10. So what happened? Well, as you can see, even at a higher level, Lunatone still isn't a one-shot. And on top of that, I got a little bit of tunnel vision, because the only thing separating me from a victory and a loss was the Quagsire missing 2 Rock Tombs. Now, it's only 80% accurate, so in my mind while I was doing this, I didn't think that the odds were that terrible. However, I really should have just done some Mount Battle grinding in order to get my level up this high, to actually make decent attempts at this. The other idea is that I could go back and teach Cosmic Power just to make all these hits not hurt nearly as bad, which in hindsight I should have just taught over Hypnosis in the first place. But anyway, eventually I'm able to take down the Matang, and then all that's left is the Quagsire, who hits one last Rock Tomb, but luckily on this attempt I'm not slower than it, and I take it down. Okay, well, I go ahead and teach Protect before the next battle, and Gonzap leads with an Electrode and a Nuzleaf. I go for Protect on the first turn, not to get hit with Fake Out, and then I go for Psychic to take down the Electrode. Unfortunately, I hit Sonic Boom, doing 20 damage. I take it down, out comes Vileplume, and because I'm a Psychic type, the Nuzleaf is always going to go for Feint Attack. I take down the Vileplume with a single Psychic, then out comes Whiscash, who hopefully will be taken down with a single Psychic. It is, and then all that's left is the Skarmory. Now I decide to actually take down the Nuzleaf this turn with Ice Beam because it's just kind of being a nuisance. And then the Skarmory uses Steel Wing, doing quite a bit of damage to me, so I take it down with Ice Beam. And that's Gonzap on the second attempt. Well, we move on, and I get Earthquake at the top of the pyramid, and realize I forgot to teach something to actually hit Shedinja. Now, luckily, Magneton does have Shadow Sky, which I hadn't really thought about actually using to take down Shedinja, but it works in this attempt, and we move on to the boss, Gorgon. He leads with a Lairon and a Celio. I go for Earthquake to immediately take down the Lairon, and do half health to Celio. And it uses Water Pulse, which luckily doesn't confuse me. I go for a Protect here just to heal up what I can, and then I go for another Earthquake to finish off the Celio, and do half health to the Slowking. Out comes Ursaring. It's a Water Pulse, gets a crit, but luckily doesn't confuse either. So now I don't have to worry about being confused anymore. Go for another Earthquake to finish it off, and then get a crit on Ursaring. Okay, well that's pretty lucky, because his 2 Shadow Pokemon come out now, Hypno and Primeape. And I go for Protect just to heal up some to play it safe, and go for Psychic to take down the Primeape. And then all that's left is the Hypno. Shadow Storm really doesn't do that much damage to me, so I go for Earthquake, and get another lucky crit. Well, we take those, and we move on to the last area of the game. And so far we're doing really well, despite the Snaddle drawback. So let's see if we can keep it up through the rest of the game. We come up against Lavrina, who leads with a Gorbis and a Gardevoir. I go for Earthquake, not quite one-shotting either. Get hit with Ice Punch. Don't get frozen though. Get hit with Water Pulse, don't get confused. I Protect to heal up some, and then I go for another Earthquake to finish them both off, which then leads out Roselia and Shadow Farfetch'd, which is probably trying to confuse us, so I decide to take down the Farfetch'd first. And then out goes Altaria, and Roselia goes for Leech Seed, but because the Leech Seed damage is going to be kind of annoying, I decide to take it down first. And then all that's left is Altaria. Use Shadow Break, not really doing that much damage to us, and Ice Beam finishes it off. So that's Lavrina on the first attempt. We move on to the top of the mountain against Snaddle once again, I go for Psychic to take down his Quagsire. And then out comes Scizor. Metal Claw, doing a little bit of damage to me. I go for Protect here to heal up some. And then I go for Psychic into the Scizor, which takes it down low enough to where Earthquake can now take it down in a single hit. I go for Protect here just to heal up some before the next turn. And Earthquake to take them both down. So Metang goes down and Scizor goes down. Out comes Solrock, my Sun counterpart, and Castform. I go for Ice Beam, which takes it down a single hit, and then out comes Starmie, which is another big threat, because there is a good chance it outspeeds me, even with my really high level. I go for Protect to heal up a little bit and play it safe, go for Earthquake, which does half to Starmie, and doesn't quite take down the Castform. I get crit by Shadow Storm, taking me pretty low, but luckily I outspeed, and Earthquake takes them both down. So that's Snaddle on the second attempt. We move on to Ardos, who leads with a Shadow Swallow and Alakazam, and I decide I'm going to go ahead and take down the Swallow because the last few runs it's been really annoying to deal with, and the Alakazam really isn't that big of a threat unless it freezes us, but it's only a 10% chance to do that, so it's not too likely. Ice Punch again, doesn't freeze. I use another Protect to heal up, and another Psychic to take down Heracross. And then out comes his second Shadow Pokemon, which is Electabuzz. Now this thing could potentially be very dangerous, and I get frozen. Okay, well, even though it's a bit unfortunate, I know that if I can just survive a few attacks, I'll be fine. And Shadow Half isn't too bad from the Electabuzz because it's going to waste its next turn recharging, as long as I don't freeze again. Okay, well, another Shadow Half. And now I'm very low on health. I defrost. Okay, Earthquake takes them both down. And now I really only have one way out of this, I think, and that's to get a lucky freeze on Snorlax, so I go for Protect here to heal up. Maybe I can survive a hit. Ice Beam actually freezes, and it defrosts instantly and takes me down. Okay, well that's alright. I go into it again, and the exact same thing happens again, and I lose. I go into it again. Third attempt now, I get frozen not once, but twice in the same battle, which is incredibly unfortunate. Anyway, it's not until the fourth attempt that I finally get back here, don't get frozen, use Earthquake to take down both Alakazam and Electabuzz, and it's not until this attempt that I finally get to the Snorlax, where I'm at full health. I go for Psychic. Its Shadow Winds are doing about a quarter, and I finally take him down on the fourth attempt. Could have been an easy first try, but luck was not on my side. Anyway, we move on to Gorgon once again. I go for Earthquake on the first turn to do damage to both. Brick Break's really not doing that much to me, and Water Pulse is doing just a little more than it. Go for Protect to heal up, and then another Earthquake to take them both down. And then out comes Aggron and Walrein. Now, I think Aggron could be a threat if it survives. It doesn't, but Walrein will be a threat because it's not a two-shot. Out comes Poliwrath, which is part Fighting type. So I go for Psychic to take it out before it sets up Shadow Sky. And then all that's left is the Shadow Mr. Mime. Waterfall again, takes me down very low. I go for a Protect here. But even with the extra health, I think I might lose if I can't take down the Mr. Mime. Which I don't, but I get a lucky crit on Walrein. Okay, well that might have just saved me. And Shadow Storm doesn't do it, and I take it down with Earthquake. Moving on to Eldis, he leads with a Shadow Manectric and Ninjask. I go for Psychic to take down the Manectric immediately, which it does, and the Ninjask is just going to keep using Silver Wind until it runs out. So I can go for Protect here, and stall out its PP just a little bit. I go for Ice Beam to take down the Salamence, which it actually outspeeds me, so it does quite a bit of damage to me. And then out goes Flygon. I go for another Protect, and now the Ninjask only has one more Silver Wind, which it doesn't get an Omni boost. I take down the Flygon, and then out comes Marowak. And because it ran out of Silver Winds, it's going to use Protect this turn, so I go for Ice Beam to take down the Marowak. And then out comes Lapras. Now I do need to take down Lapras immediately, otherwise it's going to set up Shadow Sky. So I go for Psychic into it, which takes it down in a single hit. And all that's left is the Ninjask, which I go for Ice Beam, it protects. But one more Ice Beam should take it down. And that's Eldest on the first attempt. Now before we can get to the final boss, we have to take down the big box legendary Shadowlugia, who is nearly taken down by a single Ice Beam. I go for Protect here just to heal up what I can before the final battle, and another Ice Beam to take it down. Goodbye, Lugia. Now onto the final battle against Gravel. He leads with a Shadow Moltres and Rhydon. I go for Protect to heal myself nearly to full, and go for Psychic to get a crit and take down Moltres. Okay, I'm not sure if that crit was necessary, but it is definitely helpful. Rhydon misses, so I decide to take it down. Out comes Tauros. And Executor misses as well, so I take it down. And then out comes Articuno, which is definitely the biggest threat, probably. And because I left Tauros alive, it sets up Shadow Sky. I go for Psychic, which doesn't quite take down Articuno, but Shadow Chill does about a third to me. That's not too bad. Pretty Pebbles don't help, though. I go for Protect to stall out the Sky. And I go for Psychic to finish off Articuno. Now, the Tauros is going to start using Shadow Rush against me, which isn't really doing too much damage. Now, I decide to go for Protect here because this is actually the last turn of Shadow Sky, and it ended, so the Tauros will now have to set it up again. I go for Ice Beam to take down Zapdos, and then all that's left is the Tauros, which I outspeed and will probably one-shot with a Psychic. And with that, we've beaten the game. So how did Lunatone do? Well, it beat the game at a time of 18 hours, 18 minutes, and 44 seconds, at level 78 and 80, and fainted 17 times, with most of those being from Snaddle. And the other thing to note is that it actually only lost to 2 random trainers, so it really didn't struggle throughout the game at all, other than the first Snaddle fight. In fact, it didn't really struggle against anything, and even Snaddle was just my tunnel vision getting the better of me, because Cosmic Power or just a bit of leveling up probably would have done the job just as well. Anyway, with that, it puts it pretty squarely in the S tier, right above Zangoose. Not quite as good as Espeon, but definitely a standout performance considering its typing isn't the greatest. It's certainly not bad, but Rock and Psychic don't really complement each other too well. They don't really cover each other's weaknesses at all, and Lunatone really had to rely on the Psychic typing more than it did its Rock typing for its stab moves. But Psychic is just a really good move in this game, and it gets it fairly early on at level 37, and because it's in the fast level up group, it didn't really have to try that hard to get it. And having Ice Beam fairly early on as well meant that I could cover most types other than Steel types, which luckily get covered by Earthquake eventually, but in our case we had Hidden Power to do decent damage to them. But even with the drawbacks of this Pokemon, it finds itself in the S tier, doing very well for itself. So with that, if you did enjoy this video, consider liking and subscribing. If you have any Pokemon suggestions, put them down below. Thank you so much for watching, and bye.